Welcome into the Cam Rogers Show on this Wednesday morning, July 18th, 2018. It is National Caviar Day, and it is also Kawhi Leonard Day because Kawhi Leonard has been traded. Breaking news that came through earlier this morning. The Spurs and the Raptors have agreed to a deal in principle that includes a package of DeMar DeRozan going to the Spurs and Kawhi Leonard going to the Toronto Raptors. DeRozan and Kawhi are both aware of the deal, and both are reportedly not thrilled about the news. We have the trade details as well. It's Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green going to the Toronto Raptors. Meanwhile, the Spurs get DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a first-round selection, 2019 first-round pick protected for the slots 1 through 20 from the Toronto Raptors. Those are the trade details right now. Kawhi Leonard, of course, has been at the center of trade rumors for seemingly the last couple of months. He requested a trade from San Antonio. There was some buzz that maybe the Los Angeles Lakers would make something happen. Maybe the Boston Celtics, they had the assets to get a deal done. The 76ers were at the center of trade rumors as well. No, the Toronto Raptors swoop in, stomp in, if you want me to use a dinosaur reference, and steal Kawhi Leonard from the likes of the Celtics, Lakers, and 76ers. An unbelievable deal, and the Spurs getting DeMar DeRozan, pretty solid compensation, all things considered, where we were staring at a scenario where the Spurs were going to lose Kawhi Leonard in 2019 and get no compensation at all. And how about this? Chris Haynes of ESPN reporting Kawhi Leonard, this is stunning, has no desire to play in Toronto, league sources tell ESPN. The two sides, Toronto and San Antonio, have been talking for weeks, with several trade packages being proposed, according to reports. The Raptors had emerged, you guys may recall, as favorites in the Vegas odds to land Kawhi Leonard. Brian Windhorst, I was ready to talk about him, reporting that the Raptors were in the driver's seat to land Kawhi Leonard and that they had a very compelling offer for the San Antonio Spurs. DeRozan, meanwhile, was reportedly told he wouldn't be traded this offseason. And then the Raptors pulled a 180 on him, and here we are. DeRozan is on his way out. He's going to San Antonio. Meanwhile, the Raptors get Kawhi Leonard for seemingly a one-year rental in one of the more head-scratching finishes to a trade rumor that I have ever seen in the association. And with that, will the Raptors win the East next year? Hit me up in comments. I'm on YouTube Live as well as Facebook Live. Type 1 for yes and 2 for no. So Kawhi Leonard has said behind closed doors, according to these reports, that he is going to join the Los Angeles Lakers next offseason. So I really don't know what in God's name the Toronto Raptors are doing. DeRozan is under contract until 2021. DeRozan loves the franchise that is the Toronto Raptors. DeRozan does not want to leave the Toronto Raptors, as evidenced by his Instagram stories right now. Meanwhile, Kawhi Leonard reportedly has no desire to be abroad in Canada, grabbing his passport and traveling up north to play for the Toronto Raptors, in a scenario where he's going to join the Los Angeles Lakers in 2019 anyway. It just doesn't make sense. And for the San Antonio Spurs and the leadership there, applause. Well done by them, because like I said, they were staring down a scenario where Kawhi was just going to drag his feet this season with the Spurs, walk into free agency in 2019, and then the Spurs get absolutely nothing in terms of compensation. They got pretty good compensation here on the show. You guys are watching the Cam Rogers Show, presented by Autolist. Are you looking for a new or used car out there? Tired of browsing a million sites? Go to Autolist.com to browse the largest inventory on the web or download their top-rated mobile app for iPhone or Android today. Cam Rogers with you. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. If you have any comments about the show, tweet me. It's easier because, well, it's hard to track all the comments that are flowing in here on YouTube Live. So at Mr. Rogers99, get it done. The breaking news, Kawhi Leonard has been traded. There has been an agreed trade proposal between the Raptors and the San Antonio Spurs that should go down and become official today within the league offices. So for the Raptors, they're taking the Paul George, Oklahoma City approach here. Nobody thought George would stay with the Thunder longer than 1 year after being traded. Now, nobody thinks Kawhi is going to stay in Toronto after 1 year. So the Raptors and new head coach Nick Nurse are banking on selling Toronto to Kawhi Leonard every single day. Team chemistry, recruiting, selling the culture, showing that they can be a championship contender year in and year out. Now, Toronto would be able to offer Leonard a 5-year, $190 million contract next summer. If Leonard leaves the Raptors, he could sign a 4-year, $141 million deal with a team with the available salary cap space. So will this work for Toronto? No. Why would Kawhi Leonard want to be with the Toronto Raptors? We're talking about a guy who wants the red carpet, who wants the bright lights, who wants the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. He wants to be in LA. No offense to Canada. Great people, great country, good stuff, all that. I've been there before. Canada ain't LA. In fact, Toronto is very different from LA. So in that vein, why would Kawhi Leonard want to stay there beyond the 2018-2019 campaign? By the way, the happiest team right now is the Los Angeles Lakers, because Kawhi has, first of all, a sliver of chance of staying in Toronto after this season. And like I said, in the next scenario here in 2019, he's just going to waltz into free agency, guys, and sign with LA, join LeBron James, join Josh Hart, join Kyle Kuzma, and Lonzo Ball, and all of these players, and form a legit contender within the Western Conference. And then you have the Spurs enjoying DeMar DeRozan being on contract until 2021. You have the Spurs enjoying that first-round pick in 2019. And you have the Raptors with their hands empty and their heads being scratched because they made this ridiculous deal. So credit to the Spurs. They pulled it off. They got compensation for a guy who had an absolutely bizarre season and postseason. They got DeRozan, a proven all-star. Yeah, he doesn't want to be in San Antonio, but I don't think he's as mad as Kawhi Leonard is right now. That's the Cam Rogers breakdown in for Instant Reaction. We have Harris Rubenstein, NBA analyst, on the program, and I feel like you have a lot of laughter to let out. Unbelievable.
They traded Kawhi to another country. That's insane.
Why did they do this, Harris?
They did this because, look, we reported early in the offseason that they didn't want to trade Kawhi to the West. And I think throughout this entire scenario, we needed to put more credence to that. And the Raptors come calling. They go to the Spurs. They say, look, we will give you an elite player who's under contract for 3 years, a nice young player in Jakob Poeltl, as well as a protected first-round pick. And the Spurs go, sure, that's a great package. Get an elite player, and they get to move on from the situation. They don't get to ship Kawhi to the Western Conference. They don't ship Kawhi to where he wants to be. And I understand that maybe the trade package that they're getting back isn't amazing. You know, they're not getting back OG Anunoby or Pascal Siakam, which is kind of a surprise. But honestly, Cam, sometimes revenge overlaps sense. And I think if you're the Spurs, screw it. Get out of my country. Literally. Get out of my country. Get out of my conference.
How about that for a message?
Go to the Raptors. Seriously.
Symbolically speaking here, Harris, him going to Toronto is like the exact opposite of him going to LA.
It is. It's the complete opposite. And I think they did this this was completely on purpose. And again, I think they took a worse trade package from Toronto to get him out of the West. There's no reason why they ever should trade him to the West. And they're getting a great player back at DeMar DeRozan. He is going to be a fantastic Spur. He's just what they need. The Spurs are going to be great having DeMar DeRozan, though he does turn into the highest paid player on the entire team right now. But look, if you're the Raptors, this is a a decent move for you too. And I was hating on it when I first woke up. Why do the Raptors do this? From a trade sense, they didn't give up too much to get him. I mean, they completely screwed over DeMar DeRozan, which, that's not cool.
A guy whom they promised wasn't going to get traded.
Oh, like 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
They promised him he wasn't going to get traded. Not only, so they trade away DeRozan, but they get to take a chance on Kawhi. Maybe they can pull an OKC and sell him on Toronto. That's not going to happen. But if you're the Raptors now, this is a good way to get DeMar DeRozan's contract off your books and get an elite player still in town. I mean, their perimeter defense, when Kawhi Leonard eventually plays, is going to be outrageous. Kyle Lowry, Kawhi Leonard, and OG Anunoby. Look, if there's a way that you want to stop the Celtics, it's by having great wing defenders. And they have some incredible perimeter defenders right now with those three guys.
An incredible deal that came through the wires earlier this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Kawhi Leonard is going to become a Toronto Raptor, while DeMar DeRozan is going to be a member of the San Antonio Spurs. Credit to the San Antonio Spurs leadership, Harris, because like I said, this could have been a scenario where in 2019, they lose Kawhi and get nothing in return.
They crushed this. This was a great... The Spurs completely won this, by the way. I don't care that they didn't get back OG Anunoby or Pascal Siakam. I don't care. They got back an elite player, DeMar DeRozan, who's going to fit fantastic inside of what the Spurs do on offense and on defense. Greg Popovich is going to love him, and he's going to love Pop. Again, not Pascal Siakam. Jakob Poeltl is a really good young player for them down low. I don't think he's going to be some superstar player, but he's a good player for them off the bench, especially seeing as Pau Gasol is 1,000,000 years old, and they have no youth at that position whatsoever. And they get a first-round pick that they're probably going to end up getting, or they get 2 second-round picks next year. So the Spurs are making out like bandits here, getting away from Kawhi Leonard. The fact that they were able to pull a player like a DeMar DeRozan out of this trade is fantastic. This is a multi-time All-Star that they're getting back for a guy who didn't want to play for their team anyway.
You know what's hilarious? Kawhi has to report for Toronto in a week.
Or he gets punished. Or the Raptors could... Remember, people, he is still on a $20 million contract for this upcoming season. So he can't just sit out the year. This whole concept that he was going to sit out the year and just wait was outrageous from the beginning. Out of all the teams that I thought that Kawhi Leonard could have gotten traded to, I never thought that the Raptors were a legitimate option simply because it didn't make a lot of sense. Because you know what, Cam? You know what the saddest part about this is for the Raptors? Even if Kawhi Leonard's at full health, right? They're still not the best team in the Eastern Conference. But I'd say it's still a pretty huge gap between them and the Celtics. I'd argue that still they might not be as good as the 76ers next year. Because, look, you bring in Kawhi, but the whole thing with this Raptors team was chemistry and consistency and continuity. Now you're getting rid of the guy who wanted to be there, who recruited Kyle Lowry, who recruited Serge Ibaka, who convinced Jonas Valanciunas, or at least helped him to stay. They trade that dude away for a dude who doesn't want to be there. Kawhi Leonard does not want to be in Toronto. He's not going to give 100% of the effort. Not to mention, he's going to a team with a first-year head coach in Nick Nurse, who's now going to have to handle and wrangle Kawhi Leonard. If Greg Popovich couldn't keep Kawhi Leonard under wraps, you think Nick Nurse is going to be able to keep Kawhi under wraps? No way. Not going to happen. I think that is one of the least talked about things that I've seen on Twitter right now, is the fact that he is jumping to a team with a first-year head coach. He ain't going to no Brad Stevens. He's not going to a Brett Brown. He's going to Nick Nurse. We don't even know if the dude can coach, let alone handle a superstar like Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi has no desire to be in Toronto, Harris.
Zero.
That is the report right now out of ESPN. A lot of players in the Kawhi sweepstakes. It was reported recently that the Blazers were in discussions. Of course, we talked about the Celtics and the 76ers many times now. And I mentioned this as well, Harris. The ultimate winners of this, I think, are the Los Angeles Lakers, because they're just going to be sitting. Magic's going to be sitting and waiting with open arms, ready to hug Kawhi in 2019. All will be fine and dandy.
Oh, this is great. They get Kawhi Leonard out of the conference. Or the entire West is cheering because the Spurs sent Kawhi Leonard out of the conference, and Lakers can just wait. Now they have no reason to make a move for Kawhi or even try to give up a huge package. It gives Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, gives them all a year to play with LeBron, and then here comes Kawhi Leonard in 2019 to join the crew. It's just, you're right. The Lakers are really the biggest winner in all this. The biggest loser, mind you, besides obviously what will end up being probably the Raptors, the Clippers. The Clippers are the biggest loser here. The only chance they had of getting Kawhi Leonard was in a trade. He's not going to sign with them outright, regardless of how much money they're going to be able to offer him. That was the only chance they really had of getting a superstar elite player this offseason.
You know, I wonder if it'll be a big-time bidding war between the Clippers and the Lakers next offseason. They're going to try at least. The Clippers will.
Bidding war between the Clippers and Lakers. It'll go like this. Jerry West will be like, you want to play for the Clippers? And he'll go, I got Magic online, too, offering me $150 million.
And Braun's waiting, too.
No, thanks. Not going to happen.
All right, so in terms of long-term prognostications here, Harris, with the Raptors, looking ahead to this season and taking a look at the lineup for Toronto with Kawhi in it, is it all that impressive?
It is, because I think that the addition of Kawhi Leonard for this season is actually, obviously it's going to help if he ends up playing. I like the Danny Green addition as well. He's going to be a good outside shooter for them. But again, just look at that starting lineup, okay? And compare it to what we have with the Boston Celtics of Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford. The Celtics still have a better team. And I think that's the kicker here, is that the Raptors, they did get Kawhi and they did get Danny Green, but it doesn't make them the best team in their conference. They're not even the best team in their division. And I know that divisions in the NBA are a complete joke, but I just don't think that this trade is a big enough risk to give up DeMar DeRozan to attempt to be better than the Celtics or the 76ers. I still don't think that they're good enough. And that's an issue. That's a really big issue.
Meanwhile, for the Spurs, here's the takeaway point, Harris. They can still compete in the West.
Oh, God. They compete in the West. They got better. They got so much better today. Remember, people, Kawhi Leonard played 9 games last year, and the Spurs won almost 50 games in one of the most difficult Western conferences in the history of the NBA. Now they add a guy, an elite shooting guard in DeMar DeRozan, a good young player in Jakob Poeltl. I don't want to overstate how good this guy is. But the addition of DeMar DeRozan cannot be thrown away. Him and Rudy Gay are actually, they're best friends. They're huge friends. I think Rudy Gay is one of the biggest reasons why DeMar is going to end up loving San Antonio. I think this makes the San Antonio Spurs, and you can put me on record with this, because I've already given out my Western Conference standings. I've said it's the Warriors. I'll give the Rockets the benefit of the doubt. Then I have the Lakers at 3. I had the Utah Jazz initially at 4. I think this bumps the Jazz down to 5 and puts the Spurs up to 4.
Wow.
This is a great move for the San Antonio Spurs, because not only do they get DeMar DeRozan this year, they get DeMar DeRozan for the next 3 years to put next to the likes of LaMarcus Aldridge and Dejounte Murray, and along with the other great young players that they have on this team. They added Marco Bellinelli this offseason. Derek White's going to take a next step as well. So this Spurs team has a lot of really good players on it still. They don't need Kawhi Leonard. They needed a guy like DeMar DeRozan who can fit seamlessly into their system and not cost them any games. I think the Spurs win 55-plus games next year with DeMar DeRozan.
Very exciting stuff indeed. Quite a trade. And, of course, we have comments flowing in. Uncle Phil, frequent watcher of the program. Harris, you and I have been doing shows this morning many times, and we appreciate the love out there, especially when other YouTube commenters make fun of us and call us random insults that we won't repeat here on the show.
Man.
Uncle Phil, people, be more like him. Be nice.
Exactly.
All right, so to recap one more time, the Kawhi Leonard deal. Here it is. These are the details. So Kawhi's going to the Raptors as well as Danny Green. DeRozan goes to the Spurs. Jakob heads to the Spurs as well. And then you got a 2019 first-round selection coming on over from Toronto, 1 through 20 protected there. Harris, in a sentence, a reaction to put a bow on this.
The Kawhi Leonard trade saga has officially ended in the most hilarious way that it possibly could have. There is no other way to put this. This has been one of the weirdest trade sagas in the history of basketball, and it ended in the weirdest possible way it could have, with Kawhi Leonard literally getting traded out of the country. He didn't go to Los Angeles. He didn't get traded to Boston or Philly. No. He gets traded to Canada. That is what Greg Popovich does. You dare step on what Greg Popovich has built, and he will literally trade you to another country. I commend the Spurs to the highest level for being able to just, manage this entire situation and get back a great player. I understand that there is always an appeal of waiting for the best deal and getting, 3 young players and 4 picks and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes there is value in simply getting back an elite player who is going to be a good fit for your team. And I think that is so important for the Spurs. They will compete next year. They will be one of the best teams of basketball next year, and they get rid of the Kawhi Leonard headache. R.C. Buford Executive of the Year simply because they were able to manage the situation well.
All right, Harris Rubenstein coming on the Cam Rogers Show. Go laugh your way off the set, my friend.
The Raptors.
He actually laughed his way off the set, folks. That is not a joke at all. Who won the Kawhi trade? Let me know in comments. Type S for the Spurs, type R for the Toronto Raptors. I'm typing my S all the way because I just have no idea what Toronto is doing. And I'm with Harris in the laughter department.